Evening, everybody. We're going to get started in just a minute. My name is Miss Hazelwood. I'm Jess Hazelwood. I'm the College and Career Counselor here at Rancho Cotate High School. And we have partnered with 10,000 Degrees this year to offer this financial aid information presentation. They're going to talk about some changes as well to FAFSA. Normally at this time of year, we're doing more of a hands-on workshop with FAFSA. Things are a little bit different this year, so we want to make sure you understand those changes and when you'll be able to start on financial aid. And they're going to give you a bunch of great information. We have two presenters, yes, from 10,000 Degrees. We have Diego Cobos back there. Diego, do you want to give a wave? He's here on our campus 4 days a week, and I'm sure he'll talk a little bit more about the services he also offers our students. And then is it Jesus, thank you, will also be coming up to present with us tonight. If you missed our flyers in the lobby, please stop by on your way out. We have Project Grad out there that can give you information on that event, as well as some flyers with reminders about financial aid. And myself and two other counselors are here, so if you do have other questions that we can help field afterward, if we're not able to take them as part of the presentation, please find us in the lobby afterward and we'll be happy to help you. And we should have some time at the end for some Q&A, hopefully, so we'll try to make sure you have your questions answered before you leave tonight. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to pass it over to 10,000 Degrees and our two presenters here tonight. Streaming and recording, and you need to talk into the microphone for our people. So it's off right now. Here's yours when you introduce yourself.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diego Cobos. As Ms. Hazelwood introduced me, I'm the College Access Fellow for 10,000 Degrees here at Rancho Cotate High School. I am here 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 2:30 to meet with students. I also meet students in the CCC at lunch, so sometimes I'll be supporting students there with Ms. Hazelwood in the CCC. But yeah, if you have any questions, we'll be here after to answer any. But thank you so much for being here. And then if you haven't already had the chance, make sure to sign in by scanning this QR code and just filling it out. And then there's also our Instagram handle where we post all of our announcements and any events coming up as well. Just again, to introduce ourselves, again, my name is Diego Cobos. I'll introduce Jesus Sanchez.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jesus Sanchez. I'm the current Casa Grande Fellow over there in Petaluma campus. I do work 4 days a week as well, Monday through Thursday from 8:30 to 3, supporting students as well, just as Diego, in college applications and financial aid. So if you do also know any people that have students at Casa Grande, please come meet with me, and I would love to talk to you and connect you so I can work with those students.
And then also here supporting us today is Stephanie Reyes, which is a program manager for Southern Sonoma for 10,000 Degrees. She's over there in the back at the podium at that table, so if you have questions or need a flyer, you can also ask her. Si se necesita nuestra presentación de hoy traducida en español, ahí atrás en la mesa donde está Stephanie tienen headsets para que puedan oír la presentación en español. All right, so just going to get started talking a little bit about 10,000 Degrees and who we are. So we currently support over 12,000 high schools, and we have a physical presence at 42 high schools, 56 community colleges, and 174 colleges and universities nationwide. We provide over $6.7 million in scholarships and help students leverage over $32.5 million in scholarships or free financial aid. Students who matriculate through our program also graduate with 87% less student loan debt than the national average. And students who matriculate through our program who are community college students are also 3 times more likely to transfer to and graduate from a 4-year college versus the national average. And then here's just a map on the side that shows all of the counties we operate in. Right now it's, I think, 8 Bay Area counties, yeah. And then a little bit about our model, what we do, how we operate on campus. So we support a lot with awareness and preparation for the different college pathways that are available. We also provide advising and navigation for college and financial aid systems. We provide college success support, and we'll talk a little bit more about our programs for college students later on. And then we also provide community college transfer support. All right, so now to get into our agenda. So first we'll be talking about what exactly is financial aid, what does that look like? We'll talk about the different types of financial aid applications, and then we'll also talk about scholarships. And then once all that is done, we'll talk about what happens after you apply for financial aid, because it's not just submitting an application and never having to deal with it again. You do have to follow up, and so we'll talk about what that process looks like too. All right, so we're gonna start off with what is financial aid? So financial aid is money that is gifted, paid, or lent to a student to be used for college expenses. Why is financial aid important? For one, it's the first step into finding out how much financial aid you could be eligible for and to receive to pay for college expenses. That's just one. Second is that a lot of scholarships available also require you to complete a financial aid application before they go ahead and give you that scholarship. They just kind of want to see what financial aid you would be eligible for just by completing the financial aid application on its own. Also, apart from scholarship applications, a lot of universities and colleges also require you to complete one of the financial aid applications again, so that they can see that you've already exhausted your resources for financial aid, and then they can work with you to give you more financial aid and scholarships after that. There's also a new bill known as AB 469, and some of you may have heard of it. It's a new California Assembly bill that requires graduating California high school students to complete one of the financial aid applications, and there's two available, but students only need to complete one. We'll go into them, but yeah, there's a new law going into place that just kind of requires students to complete a financial aid application, and the reasoning for this is, again, they just want to open the doors or open more doors for opportunities for students and make sure that they, again, exhaust every resource that they can to get the most financial aid. All right, and then so we're going to get into some common myths that students can tend to tell us about financial aid. The first, I can't afford financial aid, or that I can't afford college. The second, I'm undocumented, so therefore I can't get financial aid, or I don't qualify to receive financial aid. And then the last one, just straight up, I don't qualify for financial aid for whatever reason. But the fact is that for those students who say they can't afford college, there are actually many scholarships and grants available. We talked about the main financial aid applications, but there's also plenty of scholarship applications out there that, and other kind of organizations that are willing to provide money for students to go to college. So there's plenty of resources. It's just a matter of looking for them. For the I'm undocumented and I can't get financial aid, there are actually laws in California that help undocumented students receive financial aid, and we'll get into the different financial aid applications and how that applies to students who are undocumented. And then there are also plenty of different, you won't know whether you don't qualify for financial aid until you apply. So we definitely recommend students to go forth with the application, and then, and even if they don't qualify for any like scholarships or grants in the FAFSA application, they can still qualify for loans, which is a form of financial aid. All right, so where does financial aid come from? Right here we have 4 sources where financial aid can come from. For one, the federal government. 2, state government. There's also colleges and universities and the institution itself. And then miscellaneous sources, which could be like a college fund that one of your family members set aside when you were a kid. All right, so then we talked about where financial aid comes from, but what types of financial aid is there? So the first is gift aid. This is money that is gifted to or paid to a student that does not need to be does not need to be paid back. Some examples of this include the federal Pell Grant, the state aid Cal Grant, and the 10,000 Degree Scholarship, which we will touch upon later. The second form of financial aid available is work study. This is a program that can be applied through the financial aid application through FAFSA. A student just clicks on there saying that they are interested in work study. Basically, it's a program through which a student can obtain a job at their college or university and use the money that they get paid from that college or university to go back to their tuition or books or food or whatever they need to buy for their college expenses. An example can be a job at the library store, which can be considered a work-study job. And then the last option, which is our option of last resort, is loans. This is money that is borrowed and does need to be paid back. And some examples are subsidized and unsubsidized loans, the Parent Plus loan, and the Dream loan. And then I just mentioned the subsidized and unsubsidized loans. I just want to mention a big difference between those two. For subsidized loans, these do not accrue interest while the student is attending college. Unsubsidized loans do accrue interest while the student is enrolled in school. So if a student does have to take out loans, we recommend that they take out subsidized loans, not the unsubsidized. And then on the right, we have a new definition that comes with the new changes that are coming to the financial aid applications this year. But what was previously known as the expected family contribution, or EFC, has now changed and been replaced by the student aid index. There's a few reasons behind this, but the EFC kind of implied that the parents had some responsibility to pay for their students' college expenses. That's not necessarily the case. So the more accurate term is now student aid index, and it's also been, the way it's being calculated is also different than the way the EFC was calculated before. All right, so then what exactly does financial aid pay for? What can your financial aid package pay for? So it can pay for the cost of attendance of college. That's also known as COA. The cost of attendance is the total amount of college-related expenses. This can include meal plans, tuition, transportation, social life, books and supplies, anything that a college student really needs to be their most successful self at their college. And then this all totals up to kind of like the total cost of attendance at a college. And then so we work with students on filling that need. So obviously, you know, students aren't always going to get the best, most ideal financial aid package. So we try to work with them to apply for scholarships, other grants available, work with their institution to see what other financial aid they can get out of them. And so from the cost of attendance, you can subtract whatever financial aid you're receiving, and then that'll give you the net price for what you'll be paying for your college expenses. All right, so now we're going to get into another more specific types of aid, specifically types of federal aid. There is the Pell Grant available. The Pell Grant is it's a federal grant available. The max is $7,395, and it is awarded based on your student aid index. The other grant that's another federal grant is known as the FCOG grant. The max for this is $4,000, and for this, funds are limited. So always say to students, try to fill out your financial aid application as soon as it opens up. The earlier you submit it, the better. All right, so that was types of federal aid. Now this is specifically just state aid. We're gonna start with just Cal Grant A, B, and C. The Cal Grant is, again, a type of state aid that the students can apply for. For Cal Grant A, a student needs to have a GPA of 3.0 or higher. And then if they qualify for that Cal Grant, then they can get up to $12,570 at a UC, $5,742 at a CSU, $9,358 at a private, and then the Cal Grant A does not apply for community colleges. Cal Grant B applies to UCs, CSUs, and community colleges. At a UC and a CSU, you can get up to $1,648 for your first year at both UC and CSU, and then $7,390 for a CSU every other year, and $14,218 for a UC every other year. And then for the Cal Grant B, it's not a GPA of 3.0 or above, so it's 2.0 or above for this one. And then $1,648, so $1,648 for a community college up to 4 years. Cal Grant C again is you can qualify for that if you have a GPA of 2.0 or above, and this one is only for the community college level, and they offer up to $1,094. The Chafee Grant is for students who are foster youth or homeless or unaccompanied, and you can receive up to $5,000 for the Chafee Grant. And then another one we want to mention, there is another slide on this, so we will mention it more about it, but the middle class scholarship for students whose families make less than $217,000, you can still qualify for the middle class scholarship, and we'll talk more about that later too. Something that's worth mentioning as well is the California Promise Grant. So some of you may have already heard about this, but if you're thinking of attending a California community college, the California Community College's Promise Grant waives enrollment fees for California residents or for students who are AB 540 eligible. At our local community college at the SRJC, this California Promise Grant program is known as SRJC for free. And the only thing for this one to qualify for the California Promise Grant is, again, just making sure you complete a financial aid application, either FAFSA or CALA. As long as you complete your financial aid application and are set to attend a California Community College, then you should get the California Promise Grant. All right, so we talked all about financial aid, what the financial aid application process kind of looks like, but for actually completing financial aid, these are some of the documents you'll need. This flyer is actually at the door, so if you haven't taken it, it's available in Spanish and English for students and families to look at, so make sure you get one of these. But in order to complete a financial aid application, for students, if it applies to you, you will need your social security number. If you worked in 2022, your W-2 forms, your tax return, your legal permanent resident or green card, if it applies to you, and then just a list of colleges that you're interested in. And then for parents, again, if it applies to them, a social security number, if they worked, 2022 W-2 forms, federal tax return, same thing, and then just kind of knowing other information about parent financials and demographics. Something we also wanted to mention is FERPA. FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. It protects all of this kind of student information that's put on these applications for colleges and financial aid. It's just saying that any information that the student provides about themselves and their family won't be used for any other purposes other than getting the student financial aid, so it's not going to be used against them in any way. And then again, I already mentioned a little bit about this. AB 469 requires graduating high school seniors to complete a financial aid application. All right, so now we're actually going to talk about the two different financial aid applications available, what they look like, and so for that, I'll pass it over to Jesus.
Thank you, Diego. So again, there are two forms of financial aid. There is the FAFSA and the California Dream Act, and we're going to split it up into two parts to talk about each one specifically. So one thing to remember is students only need to complete either the FAFSA or California Dream Act, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to help the student identify which one is corresponding with them. And the one thing that we mentioned is we have to apply to it every single year. You know, we can definitely take maybe a gap year and all, but we definitely require to fill it out every single year so the schools can consider you for free money. Now, going on to first about the FAFSA is for all students who are U.S. citizens. It opens up in December. December, we don't know when it can be. It can be the 1st, it can be on Christmas, right at your doorstep, coming down the chimney, or it can be on New Year's. So date is still pending. But it will close on April 2nd, and it helps students access federal and state aid. Now, this is important to highlight because it can be applicable to any school in the U.S., all 50 states, compared to the California Dream Act, which we will talk about a little bit later. But normally we have to remember it opens on October 1st and closes March 2nd. So students who are applying this year for FAFSA, next year you're going to have to start applying in October, and remembering it closes March 2nd, not April 2nd. So what are one of the steps that we need to do to create the FAFSA is create an FSA ID. So parents who have maybe gone through this part with other maybe students that they send off to college, they already have an FSA ID, great. But those who haven't had it, you would need to go to the studentaid.gov. You're gonna create your own password by entering your full name. You want to enter, make sure it's the full name and your social security number, because they need to, of course, cross-reference it with the school. And this will also be your form of electronic signature. It's going to be the way you say, yes, I certify the information stated on here, my taxes is correct, and if you need to contact me, I am free to contact. So step one, we'll be going to the website, choosing a username, your password. You will be asked to set up a second authenticator app, because with now a lot of days, there's AIs creating profiles, getting this free money from students. They're taking a step further to make sure that your information is protected. You will either have to enter an email, phone number, or download an authenticator app. There's tons of out there with either maybe on Google Store, on the App Store. You can just look it up. And then you'll be prompted to also use a backup code. It's important that we save these backup codes, because in case you get locked out for some whatever reason, you can use this to access your account. It will prompt you to maybe reset your password, but it's crucial that we save these backup codes, students. And we're also gonna highlight some changes coming to the FAFSA. One big change is FAFSA will the FSA ID will be required from the beginning. Parents who don't have a social security number, at the current moment, you can't create an FSA ID, but in December, you will be able to start creating an FSA ID without your social security number. There will be like a little box that says, I do not have an social security number. And for parents who are married and who have filed taxes together, only one of you will have to create an FSA ID, not both of you. So saves the tedious time of both logging in and all. Another one is, like Diego mentioned, they are replacing the SAI to the EFC to the SAI, which is, of course, this expected family contribution to the student aid index. Now, it also shifts the focus of all the assets. Of course, if you own property, you're a small business organization, Before, you would not have to consider that when, of course, applying to FAFSA, but now they want to know. So you do have to enter maybe how much your business is worth, your property value. And of course, it no longer implies parents who are responsible for paying. So let's say you are a student that lives with your relatives and they mostly take care of you. They're gonna be the ones responsible for filling out the FAFSA. It's gonna be your most supporting financially guardian. And another thing is that, of course, if you had multiple kids and you both sent them off to college at the same time, maybe a year apart, the FAFSA used to consider that to maybe give the student each equal amount of money. That is no longer the case. They will, of course, base the number that they're going to give you, the factor, as a family together. So it might affect some families who have children at the same time going to college. We also want to mention, if you want to start, of course, with these changes going on, it's scary. There is a free aid estimator. You can scan that QR code. You can enter in your income, how many people you have in the family, and it'll generate an SAI for you, so you can start thinking, okay, I might receive this amount of money, or I might not be qualified. Let's look at maybe other loans or grants we can apply to. And of course, there are the exceptions of dependent and independent students. Dependent students are will have to provide, of course, their parents' tax information. Even if the parents were divorced, never married, it's going to be, again, the parent who provides the more financial support, not the one that you live the most with. It's whoever gives you the most for keeping food, clothes, all on you. And there is a tool that's going to be embedded within the FAFSA that can help you calculate who am I supposed to be reporting taxes from, who should I ask them to create an FSA ID. So be wary, that will be in the application for students. And for students who are considered independent, it's going to be students who are, of course, married already, have children of their own, who are ordered by the court that their parents were not suitable to be taking care of them, emancipated minors, homeless, or of risk of being homeless. And we can help identify those students if they are at risk of being homeless, so we can, of course, select the right boxes on it. And for the California DREAM Act, now shifting it over, the California DREAM Act, when you apply, is going to be for students who are AB 540, DACA recipients who have TPS, U.S. visa, and just like the FAFSA, it opens up on December. We're not sure when, but it will close on April 2nd, and this allows students to access state aid. So just like I mentioned, this money can only be used for schools in the California, community colleges, UCs, CSUs, privates, but of course, if that student's thinking of going to Oregon, we will have to see about maybe applying for other financial aid, such as maybe scholarships, loans, to help that student pay for it if they are planning to go outside of California. And who is AB 540 eligible? Well, it's gonna exempt students of paying out-of-state tuition and gonna consider them in-state tuition, also known as non-resident fees. Students must have at least 3 years in a K through 12 attending. That can be maybe 1 year in elementary school, 2 years in high school, as long as it totals up to a total of 3 years in California city schools, as well as they must graduate or obtain a high school diploma, GED, associate's degree, or minimum credits. So the good thing to know for students who are planning to go to community college that are undocumented, let's say they came and only have 2 years in California city schools. If they can go to a community college and obtain that 3rd year of residency, then they can apply for, while they're in community college, for California DREAM Act the following year. So there are workarounds of getting those full 3 years for students. And for AB affiliative or residency classification forms, again, this considers you for in-state tuition. It will now be embedded in the California DREAM Act. Back in the days, you would have to go through this verification process of each school asking for this form. The good thing is, hey, it's all in one. You're gonna send it in with your California DREAM Act, and schools are gonna know this student should be considered for in-state tuition. And I'm gonna hand it over to Diego to maybe talk about additional financial aid.
All right, so we talked about the 2 main financial aid applications, FAFSA and CALA, but now we're going to talk about other ways that students can apply for even more financial aid. So the first one we're going to talk about is the CSS profile. This one is especially important if you're a student or have students who are planning to apply to a 4-year college, specifically 4-year colleges. This is a profile that can consider you for even more institutional aid. So this isn't aid coming from the government, but it's coming from the institution that you'll be attending itself. This application opens up on October 1st, and the deadline varies by each school. It's $25 for the first school, and then $16 for each additional school. And then there are waivers available, so you don't have to pay those $25 or the $16 that follow after for every other school. And then I did talk about the middle class scholarship a little bit earlier, but just some more information about it right now. This scholarship is available for, again, students who will be attending a CSU or a UC. Their family income has to be less than $217,000. And if they are awarded, they won't be notified that they're being awarded until July or August of next year if they're applying this year. You must also be a U.S. citizen, permanent resident, or meet the requirement for non-resident tuition exemption. So if you are AB 540 eligible, you can also get the middle class scholarship. All right, and then the 10,000 degree scholarship, you should have also already received a flyer at the front. You can, if not, you can get one. But the 10,000 degree scholarship opens up December 1st this year, and it coincides with the dates of FAFSA or financial aid applications. So we're trying to open up in December 1st and then have it close April. But there is no GPA requirement for our scholarship. There's no citizenship or documentation requirement. It can apply for students who are pursuing a career technical education, a four-year college or university program, or community college. And then to receive the 10,000 degree scholarship, it is a need-based scholarship, so as long as a student demonstrates financial need, then they are a good candidate to receive our scholarship. And then how you apply, there's just two requirements. You just have to complete one of the financial aid applications, so as long as you've completed and submitted FAFSA or CADA, California Dream Act, then you can go ahead and complete our 10,000 degree scholarship application. Some other scholarships we wanted to mention. So there's definitely lots of places you can look for scholarships. There's like different websites that have a whole library of scholarships lists available. You can go to the College and Career Center at Rancho. Ms. Hazelwood has plenty of resources available for students and scholarships. And you can also come to 10,000 Degrees. Our website here is also 2 QR codes, but yeah, you can go to our website to apply for our scholarship, but then there's also other outside scholarships that are on our website. And then 2 QR codes that we wanted to mention here. The one on the left is the Rancho Cotate High School College and Career Counselor website. Specifically, they have a website and a page for their local scholarships. So definitely check those out, take pictures, get those QR codes. But yeah, that's the one on the left. And then if you are planning to attend or thinking of attending a CSU, the QR code on the right shows a list of scholarships that are available per CSU campus.
Hi, everybody. I just want to add a couple notes on that because we get a lot of questions about scholarships. We have a number of local scholarships to Roanoke Park or specific to Rancho, and a lot of students come in looking for those. So if you go to the local scholarship page, it will give you an idea of some of those and when they typically are due. They haven't reopened yet for this year, but you can see that last year for the class of 2023 when they were due, so you can have an idea of when to maybe be looking for those to come up. Also on the Cal State scholarship, I just want to remind everybody if you're applying to CSUs that you can often apply for their separate scholarships before you even know if you've been admitted. They won't really do anything with that, but sometimes until they know that they're accepting you. But sometimes the deadlines for the scholarships come before you would find out if you're admitted. So it may be some work that it won't pay off because you won't get that admittance, but it could mean that you can get a scholarship when you're incoming if you take the time to fill those out. Every campus, every one of the 23 campuses does their campus scholarships different in the CSU system. So that sheet just collects a bunch of links together to help you navigate so you can learn about them one by one, okay? The UCs are embedded into their application, but there are a couple alumni scholarships for a few of the UC campuses that's also on that same sheet, okay? So just kind of remember, and beyond the CSUs and UCs, if you're looking at other 4 years, you want to go and find their scholarship page because sometimes there's scholarships you have to fill out separate applications for in addition to what they may offer to you as part of your offer, okay? So that's just kind of on scholarships. I do usually offer a scholarship workshop during the school day for students about once a month or about every 4 to 6 weeks. So definitely if you're a student and you haven't attended one, or you have a student who hasn't attended, they're at lunch, they're drop-in, you can come and get a bunch of information on scholarships. And I offer work days every so often as well, just to help students work on those. And I know Diego also offers support on scholarship applications.
We also wanted to mention the Doyle Scholarship, which is available for the SRJC students. In years previous, there might have been a separate Doyle scholarship application. That is no longer the case. So in order to qualify for the Doyle Scholarship, a student just needs to complete their financial aid application and make sure that they list the SRJC on their financial aid application. And then just by completing either FAFSA or CALA and listing SRJC, they should be automatically considered for the Doyle Scholarship if they're attending SRJC. And this also goes for students who are AB 540 eligible. They can also qualify for the Doyle Scholarship. And then overall, to qualify, you just need to have a GPA of 2.749 or above. If your GPA falls between 2.0 and 2.749, you'll just be required to submit some supplementary essay, and then you'll most likely also be given the Doyle Scholarship.
All right, so now we're going to talk about what happens after we apply for the FAFSA, California Dream Act, or any of these other scholarships. First off, we're off in the top left corner, filling it out through our computer. After we submit that application, it generates what's known as a SAI, as we discussed about it. And that SAI is sent over to the institutions, the schools that we list in the financial aid application. And then that school takes into consideration the cost of attendance, transportation, meal plans, room and boarding, and then they calculate a financial aid award letter. That financial aid award letter is unique to every institution, so it's crucial that we log into these portals to see what money they're awarding, what's the difference, so we can see, hey, are we gonna need to take out extra loans? Hey, are we getting money back when we're getting paid to go to college? And then after we accept that, it is crucial that we file it in again the following year. Typically, it will be October, and then it's a process all over again. File, get the number, school gives us money, and we hopefully go to college. And then next up is students to access also all these grants, get, of course, what they're gonna get for Cal Grant. They have to go to web grants for students. Typically, students who file the FAFSA have to wait a few days after filing the FAFSA to access it. And they will use their social security number and same personal info to create their web grants, because if not, they won't be able to pull up their information of their application being filled out. And it's crucial that we write down these IDs and passwords. We don't want to get locked out for whatever reason because we attempt too many times, so better play it safe than sorry we would like. And for students who are applying for the California Dream Act, you can log in that same day after filing the California Dream Act. You would actually use the same login as your CATA to access your web grants accounts. And it's important to know, viewing your state Cal Grant will be through this portal. Confirming your school of attendance, that will happen in June, is also through this portal, and also you have to verify your graduation date. So the school can upload as well your GPA. It's crucial that they upload the GPA so then they can factor, okay, they're gonna get Cal Grant A, B, or C. All right, and financial aid award levels. Like I mentioned, it's gonna be unique to every single campus. So every school that we list in that FAFSA or California Dream Act is gonna give you a cost of attendance and a financial aid award letter. And it will also only be awarded to the students who are named in the application. So even if you have a sibling, it's crucial that they fill out the application, because then you will be getting your own award and they will be getting their own award. Where do students receive their offer letters? Well, it's gonna be through their 4 years institutions, typically shortly after they submit it. So for CSUs, UCs, private schools, it should be right away. But for students attending maybe community colleges, it might be until like late June or May. So if you maybe hear around like, hey, I already got my financial aid award, don't panic, the time will come. If not, just connect with us and we can investigate what's going on. Maybe it's a little backtracking, or we need to go into our portals and do some to-do lists, some verifications. And where can they view the letters? Just like I mentioned, each school will be sending you logins for portals, and it should be under View Financial Aid Award. Again, important viewings is you can also view through your portal your admission status. You know, did you get accepted? If you were put on a wait list. And then you can also check your to-do things. Like I said, it's crucial that we keep doing these to-do things for verifications, because if not, schools can rescind your admissions if you did get accepted, if you don't have those forms sent in. And as well, your offer letters. Remember, each school does send you your own logins, and we recommend students to check their portals weekly, even maybe if they can 3 or 2 times, the most better, it doesn't hurt. And to give students just a general idea of how the school year will look, from September to the end of November, we have, of course, been completing college lists, submitting those college applications, and researching for scholarships with either Diego or Jess. And then we're preparing to also apply for the financial aid, because that's coming around the corner in December. In December, the California DreamWorks and FAFSA will open up, as well as our scholarship. So we work with students to fill out those applications as soon as possible. Then once we come back from the wonderful winter break that we're all gonna enjoy, we start completing the to-do list on the portals, verification letters, sending in transcripts if we can, all that, and then, of course, verifications and the college admissions decisions that will come around the end of March. They can come early as January, but most likely we see a lot of students getting them in March. And then from March to May, we got the financial aid award letters. How much are we getting? It gives us time to maybe say, hey, I want to go to this school, or hey, I really want to go to it, but it seems like I might have to work a few extra hours to get that money that makes up for that gap. And then we have to decide by May 1st, it's crucial that we log into the portals of the school that we want to go to and accept their financial aid award letters and accept their admissions. And then during the summer, it's not over. Even though we accepted the whole applications and admissions, we have to still go submitting the final transcripts, GPA official transcripts, and we have to wait till the money gets dispersed. It's crucial sometimes that we have a card on file, because if we need to put down deposits, the financial aid award won't kick in until later in the year, so and we might have to put a few dollars down for the deposit. So just a little side note. And
there's one slide after this. Just some virtual events for students and families that we wanted to share. These are some events that 10,000 Degrees is hosting. So we have a financial aid info night, which is, again, virtual, November 29th, 6 to 7 p.m. You can access that link for the Zoom through our website, so 10,000degrees.org. And then we also have, that's the one on the left is just a financial aid info night, but we also have financial aid submit workshops. Those are going to be virtual as well, so students and families can kind of come in on Zoom, and then they'll be paired with one person from 10,000 Degrees, and then they'll sit down with them and help them submit their financial aid application just right then and there. So those are 3 separate workshops we have for submitting financial aid applications. And then now for some in-person events.
I just want to stress that if you feel like you're going to need help to complete your FAFSA, it can be, questions that might be challenging, you might not need some help with it. I really recommend attending one of their virtual support nights and get paired with someone to help you through the questions you get stuck on. It can be really helpful. A lot of us help with this a lot, so we might be more familiar with it, and the first time you do it, you might think, okay, I'm not quite sure what they're asking, so please reach out and ask us to utilize these nights. I want to talk about some support we have coming up for students on December 5th. During the school day, we're going to offer support to students on helping them actually set up their FSA ID. Okay, this is like the first step for the entire FAFSA process. Even though that we are hoping the full FAFSA, the new FAFSA, the simplified FAFSA, will be released by then. We're not sure, but we're pretty sure we can still help students with the FSA ID step. That is open now for students and parents. With Social Security number, you can go home tonight and set up your FSA ID if you don't have one, but we'll help students at school with this step if you're FAFSA eligible, and we'll also help students get started on the CATA as well that day if you're not eligible for FAFSA. And that's going to be December 5th during school day. If students attended our first Jumpstart workshop, they've already signed up for this, but this isn't just for JC students, this is for all students going 4-year or community college, so this is only going to be about financial aid, okay? And then next week, I just want to highlight if you are working on college applications, so CSU, UC, private, you missed our first jump start, or you're looking at community college outside the area, or you need help with an application to a trade school, anything you're working on, we have 2 support days next week, one on Monday and one on Thursday. Those will be in the College and Career Center. We've got support from 10,000 Degrees. We have a retired private college counselor coming to support us one of the days, so we're gonna have extra support for you. We wanna help you finish your applications for wherever you're planning to apply, okay? So we really hope for students especially applying to CSU and UC. The main deadlines for those are November 30th, which is right after we come back from Thanksgiving break. But there's not a lot of support over Thanksgiving break for students. So we're really hoping that students will make the extra push and hopefully get their applications done maybe before we go to break would be awesome, okay?
And then just as a reminder, UC and CSU applications are due November 30th. All right, so now we're gonna open it up to any questions. If anyone has any questions, I'll try to repeat the questions that everyone can hear it, but we'll also be staying after to answer any other questions. También pueden dar la pregunta en español si quieren. Web grants for students, great question. So it's going to be a portal where students can check their Cal Grant status. So after completing the financial aid application, let's say you're completing FAFSA, you'll just wait a few days after submitting your FAFSA application, and then once you submit, after a few days, you'll have access to create a Web Grants for Students account. And basically, yeah, it's just you'll go into that account, and then that'll be where you can check the status of your Cal Grant awards. Like if you're awarded a Cal Grant A, B, or C, you'll be able to see exactly like how much money you're receiving, how much money you will be receiving the next year. You'll also have to use Web Grants for Students portal to update the college you'll be attending and your graduation date, as well as your final transcript, just so that, again, you can make sure to receive that financial aid. Because some students, you know, they see on their financial aid application that they're going to get Cal Grant, but then they don't go through with that Web Grants for Students account creation, so they're just going to miss out on that financial aid. So, great question, yeah. Yeah.
I also want to clarify that this is actually a CSAC thing, and so even if you're not going to necessarily be eligible for Cal Grant, we actually just have all students set it up because they don't process the middle class scholarship until later on after we graduate, but there's a section in there that will also talk about the middle class scholarship, and we just recommend students have that because we also see families where finances may change year to year, and so it's just good to have that account set up. And because we can't predict what that might look like for every student, we just recommend all students set it up. And it's very fast. It's the easiest thing you're going to do in this entire process. But a lot of students forget it because it's like an after step that we do. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that is only for California scholarships. So if you are not attending a school in California, you won't do that. And in fact, I don't know if we mentioned this, but if you're not sure yet if you're going to be staying in-state or out-of-state, we still recommend that you put one California school in your FAFSA and list it as your first school. That way you will be checked to see if you're eligible for in-state aid, and then you can put your other schools out-of-state below that. But if you don't have a California school on that application, then they won't necessarily even check to see if you're eligible, and so sometimes things change last minute for students, and so we just want to make sure. We recommend, if you're not sure, maybe add the JC or Sonoma State or something like that, just so it can be checked if you're going to apply to Sonoma. But JC is easy because you can put it on there and have it checked. But out-of-state, Web Grants is only for California. You'll be working with their financial aid office and the FAFSA typically for that. Do you have anything to add to that? Okay. Any other questions? Yes, you will need the student who's applying for financial aid and typically at least one parent to complete it. So if you have a 2-parent household, but you file jointly, you only need one parent. If you have a 2-parent household but file separately, both parents will need it to connect the tax information. If you have 2 separate households, right, then the new FAFSA guidelines say it needs to be the parent who provides the most financial support will be the parent listed on the FAFSA. Yeah, if it is a step parent and not legally married to the step parent, then they are not financially responsible towards that child. But a step parent that you are legally married, then the step-parents' finances will be part of FAFSA, regardless of whether you file separate or joint. Yeah. Anything to add to that? Okay. Yeah, and they will have, we know that this is where a lot of questions come, is which parent or which household or which tax returns do we use? We are looking forward. We have been able to see a demo of the new FAFSA, so they did do a full simplification of it. It should be a lot easier for everybody this year. If you've done it in the past, we are hopeful it's going to be streamlined and quick, we hope. But they have told us about some things they're going to have in there that we haven't been able to test yet. And one of them is the parent wizard. So I think that's going to be really helpful for parents, you know, and students to kind of figure out who needs to put in what information. And that will be embedded into the FAFSA. So that's one thing I can let you guys know that will be coming. I also wanted to clarify that they will ask you, they have streamlined the questions they're going to be asking about income and assets. So a lot of the tax information will be pulled directly from the IRS. So if for some reason you have not filed your 2022 taxes yet, we would strongly encourage you to try to do that before you file FAFSA, because that tax return is really necessary for FAFSA now, the way they have revised it. There used to be some like kind of workaround that could delay it, and it looks like a lot of that isn't going to be as easy as it used to be. And so you want to make sure you have those taxes filed from this is last year's, not for this year. Yeah. So there is some stuff we don't know yet. We've only been able to get peeks at it. Everyone seems to be very excited that it'll be a lot easier for all of you. So we are hopeful. Any other questions out there? Yeah, so the middle class scholarship has, I can't give you exact numbers. It's been undergoing some restructuring, and maybe you guys have more information to share, but it is a state funded, it's really a grant, they're calling it the scholarship, it's like a grant program. It's just, the Cal grants are financially need-based. And so the middle class scholarship is kind of meeting the need beyond, if you don't qualify for Cal grant, it's kind of that next income level, okay? What's a little bit different from middle class scholarship, it's being restructured. They're telling us there's more money. It's better funded than it has been in the past. So we're very excited about it. We saw students receiving middle class scholarship last year. I like hearing that there's more money coming. We hadn't heard, it was like there, but we never really heard about it. Not very many people were getting it, but they've expanded it. The only thing that's a little different about the middle class scholarship is it won't be part of your financial aid offer letter initially, because they do not process them until around July. But I do encourage you to go online and read about it and see if you think you might qualify, and they should have some estimated funds on there about what it could be, because that can give you an idea. Even though it's not going to be on the aid letter, it could tell you, okay, we might, you know, we have to kind of say might qualify for this additional funds. But everything we've heard in our trainings is that this is a program that's been expanded, and we should be seeing more and more students receiving it. We've given them the feedback that July is a little late for some families to know that money's coming, but they are working through all their programs and get to it as fast as they can. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, well, oh yeah, go please. Yeah, we're waiting. As soon as we know, I will send out a message to all our senior families and students. So as long as you're checking your communications from us, I think they do have something you can sign up for on the FAFSA website, so you can be alerted as well, like as an individual. But as soon as we know, I'm just checking every week on the website to see if they've posted an update, because we don't always, the channels aren't always great and the information coming to us, but I haven't found anything on an update if it's going to be December 1st or December 31st yet. I am hopeful that we'll know something in the next week or so, because we're getting to the middle of November now. What we're planning on right now is hopefully getting students started. Like I said, we can start with FSA IDs for most families now. There is a little restrictions around that, but most families can set up their FSADs now. So make sure the parent who's going to participate has an FSAD and the student does. And that means that way, even if it's December 31st, in January, you're going to be ready to go and do it. We know it will be open by then. We will be doing most of our school day support, and our support will be happening after winter break for our campus, because we didn't want to plan beside the FSA ID day, because we don't know if it'll be open yet. But yeah, I'll put out posts as soon as I see it. Yeah, I'll put a post on Parent Square. I'll put it on Instagram. We'll get it out there. Yeah, for sure. We want to make sure you guys know, because what we do know, so I don't know if you guys noticed it, normally our timeline is October 1 to March 2nd. That's our California timeline. And this year, because the FAFSA revision is opening later, California decided to push their deadline to April 2nd, so that's what a lot of the schools are honoring as well. What I will say, though, is if you're applying to a 4-year, if you wait until the April 2nd deadline, you may not get your financial aid offer before May 1st, right? Or it will be very close, because their financial aid offices would have not enough time to process everybody's. So we are still encouraging you, if you are applying to 4-year campuses, to please try to get it in by the end of February if you can. That will allow your 4-year campus that as soon as they make their admissions decision, they can process your financial aid immediately instead of having to wait. They might be ready with your decision and not have your FAFSA, right? That's what we don't want to happen. We want them to be able to do both right away. You guys know how much it'll cost you to attend there, and you can start making your decision if that works for you or not. I also wanted to really stress one of the biggest issues we have seen with FAFSA in the past is students' common errors that happen in the FAFSA entry. So please make sure that full legal names are used. The same full legal name that's used in your school record here is the legal name you use in your college application, is the same legal name that you're using in your FAFSA. Don't shorten. If you have 2 last names, please use 2 last names. This is where we see people's financial aid getting delayed because the forms don't match up on the college side. And usually we can figure it out, but it really slows down the process for students. The other thing is, when you're setting up your FSA ID, please double check your social security number. We have a lot of instances of students writing it down, but maybe it's not written down exactly how it is on the card. We just inverse numbers, we're all human, or you type it in wrong. That is kind of a big deal to get fixed. And so it's a lot easier if you just take the time, get a picture of the card, at least even if you don't have a physical card, and make sure you're having someone double check that. It will really help down the road with anything you're entering, addresses, but just make sure everything's matching, okay? Anything to add to that? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, if there's one thing I could tell you to do when you leave tonight is set up your FSA ID. And if you need help with that, students, December 5th is the day we're going to get you started on that. And we will continue to send out messaging to remind you of support that's available and what you can be working on as it becomes available. And Diego and I are both available for, they are school day times, but we are available for individual meetings, and parents are welcome to join us virtually or in person as needed if that works for your schedule. A parent can initiate an appointment just like a student. You can use the same links that students use, okay? Feel free to email us as well. We field a lot of questions during financial aid time. If we don't know, we have people on campuses that work in financial aid full-time that we reach out to. So if you have an unusual situation in your household that isn't covered in these slides, right? Your experience is a little different. Please reach out to us. Let us get you connected with someone who can guide you through this process. Our goal is to make sure that everyone is accessing the maximum amount of aid that's available to them to help you pay for your education. Okay? Thank you so much.